but actually over.
Old school mullet.
Oh.
Aaron, is it okay if we call the meeting to order?
Yeah.
There we go. Wonderful. Could you please do roll call? Bridget?
Mayor Busey,
Here?
Councilmember Seifert,
Here.
Councilmember Kohler,
Present.
Councilmember Sander,
Present.
Councilmember Van Hees,
Present.
Councilmember Straven.
Here.
Thank you.
Awesome. So we'll go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I would like to ask Cindy from the Daughters of the Revolution to lead us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perfect. So I'm going to request the approval of the meeting agenda, but the Daughters of the Revolution would like their proclamation read as the agenda item number 1. So I would like to throw that out there as an option.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting agenda with the change of the Daughters of the Revolution.
American.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. And I apologize, Daughters of the American Revolution.
Yes.
So, if you can allow me to read the proclamation. The City of Millwood's official proclamation. Whereas the City of Millwood, a non-charter code city by virtue of Constitution and laws of the state of Washington, and whereas the City Council of Millwood shall have all powers for the possible city or town to have under that Constitution and laws of state of Washington, except for the powers not to specify or deny the city's by. Whereas on July 4th, 2026, the United States of America will commemorate the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Whereas this milestone provides an opportunity to reflect on our nation's history and honor the contribution of all Americans and reaffirm democratic ideals and that define the United States. Whereas the Northwest Ordinance of 1787, following the Treaty of Paris of 1783, established the framework for territorial governance and the creation of a new states, including what would become the state of Washington in 1889. Whereas the National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution, founded in 1890, is a non-political women's service organization dedicated to the historic preservation, education, patriotism, and the May Hutton chapter, established in Spokane Valley in 1996, a name for suffragist and political activist and philanthropist May Hutton, who passed in 1915's continued legacy of civic engagement and public service within Millwood's community. Whereas the chapter's National Society of Daughters of American Revolution, in partnership with the City of Millwood, honors those who achieved American independence and all who have shaped and persevered in our nation for the past 250 years. Now, therefore, Mayor Shauna Beasy, on behalf of the City Council of Millwood, does hereby proclaim all of July 2026 as America 250 Month. And the City of Millwood has encouraged its community members to commemorate America 250 as we have been, by learning more about our history and the American Revolution and the enduring legacy of service that has shaped our nation.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, hello, I'm Cindy Lundberg. I am the regent for the May Hutton chapter. And this is Rayanna Victor. She is the regent for the Jonas Babcock chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. There's actually 4 chapters of DAR in the Spokane area, and 1 chapter for the Sons of the American Revolution, which unfortunately they didn't make it tonight because they look pretty dashing in their uniforms. So we currently have the chapter. These organizations have been here since 1894 in the Spokane area in the Washington state. Our organizations are formed on service, and we are involved in many activities this year to celebrate the nation's 250th birthday. We would like to thank you for this proclamation and hope that we will encourage you, the citizens of Millwood, to actively participate, celebrate, and learn more about our country's history. We will be partnering with the Spokane Valley Heritage Museum August 8th for the Washington America 250 Museum Day. We would like to personally invite you to this event and learn more about the American Revolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful. So our Our next agenda item is to honor Congressional Gold Medal recipient, and I just received a text that they would like to be pushed to next month due to a last-minute emergency. So that brings our next agenda item on as STA and a presentation.
Set the timer on myself here, so thanks for having me tonight, everybody. Carly Courtwright, Chief Communications and Customer Service Officer with STA. So I promise not to take up too much of your time. I just wanted to give you some information. So if I could have the next slide. Just a little bit, I'll go through this fairly quickly. I'm pretty sure you're probably all familiar with the mission of Spokane Transit. I will highlight our new vision statement, connecting everyone to opportunity. And I feel like that resonates with so many people because you get to define what your opportunity is. So next slide. Just as a reminder, we serve 7 municipalities in the Spokane County area, as well as unincorporated parts of Spokane County. That's about 481,000 people, including those that live here in Millwood. So everyone that lives within this boundary that we call the Public Benefit Transportation Area, or PTBA, if I mention that again, will be able to vote on this ballot. So next slide just tells you that that is going to be STA Proposition 1 on the August 4th ballot. That is a renewal of 0.2%. It was approved by voters back in 2016. It is scheduled to expire on December 31st, 2028. So regardless of how the vote turns out in 3 weeks, that will still be 0.2% through December 2028. Next slide. What we're asking voters to do is renew this 0.2%. So it's not an increase, it's the same amount. It would have a new sunset of 20 years, so it would expire on December 31st, 2048, unless again renewed by the voters. That equals about 2 cents for every $10 purchase. And you can see from that penny graphic, most of that funding is going to be used towards maintaining the service that we implemented underneath our last 10-year strategic plan, Stay Moving Forward, which I'm going to highlight for you in a moment. And then a smaller portion of it is going to be used to enhance some service underneath our new 10-year strategic plan, Connect 2035. So I'll also talk about that a little bit tonight. Again, maintaining and enhancing is sort of the verbiage that we're using. So let's go to the next slide and really talk about maintaining that service. Thanks to those voters back in 2016, we were able to implement Stay Moving Forward over the next 9 years. 26 out of 27 projects were implemented from that plan. The last one that was not was pilot service to North Idaho, which required a willing partner in Cooney County, and they were not interested. So that was the one that we were not able to complete. Of those projects we were able to complete, that grew service in the region by over 35%, surpassing our original goal of 25%. That translates to more frequent service, more routes that were added that didn't exist before. We have a 62% increase in night and weekend service. So obviously we have more people riding during the day, so we moved to less frequent service at night. But that becomes a challenge. If your bus only comes every 60 minutes, if you miss it, then you're waiting another 60, or you're going to probably most likely have to find another way to get where you're going. By moving that back to 30-minute service, that's a game changer for a lot of people, especially if you're working later night shifts and the bus is your only way home. That's a big deal, especially that weekend service as well. Moving it from 30-minute to 15-minute frequency is even better. So the more frequent service we have, the more likely people are going to be able to ride our service. So that was the vast majority of what Stay Moving Forward was implementing those new routes or expanding them. We also added City Line, which was our first bus rapid transit line, launched 3 years ago, almost today, that links Browns Addition through downtown and the University District to SCC Transit Center. This was completed $14 million under budget. We're good stewards of money at STA, which I'll talk about in a minute. But that had over 700,000 riders in its first year. It's one of our top 5 most popular ridden routes now, and again, has that high frequency of during peak times, every 7.5-minute service. I mentioned the SCC Transit Center. We also built new transit centers during this time. Miraboo Transit Center out in the valley, West Plains Transit Center across from the Amazon Fulfillment Center, as well as a few more throughout the town. Why are these so important is because it means that you don't have to come downtown to transfer anymore. So it's not just that more frequent service, it's also a more reliable hub that allows you to transfer at a closer place to get where you're going. Little less important for Millwood, I'll be honest on that, but for the West Plains, for example, that's been a real big game changer for them. So if you live in Airway Heights, Cheney or Medical Lake, you used to have to come all the way into Spokane downtown to go back to another one of those places. Now you can go from Airway Heights to Cheney through the West Plains Transit Center, cuts your travel time almost in half. Airway Heights and Cheney are in the same school district. We have our very popular Youth Ride Free program, so 18 and under ride free. A lot of youth are taking advantage of that, and again, this gives them the ability to do that and gives them that freedom. That Youth Ride Free grant comes from the state. We get $12.6 million annually from the state for the transit support grant and our special needs grant, so that $2 amount combined funds both that Youth Ride Free and paratransit services. So it's not just about those fixed route buses, it's also about our paratransit service as well. Because we are such good stewards of money, again, we acquired $138 million in grant funding from 2017 through now. 53 million of that was for the bus rapid transit line, city line, from the federal government. A lot of is state government that requires a match to be able to receive. And that's one thing that we're really proud of at STA. If you've been reading the paper at all, you know this comes up a lot about our zero debt approach. So we believe in saving and then spending. That allows us to put all of that money back into the community instead of spending it on interest payments. So we were able to take all of that grant money, use it, put it back into the community, and not have to pay back debt payments instead. So that's a little bit about the service that we have implemented. Next slide, we'll go forward too, actually, because that one's really just a placeholder. We're now moving into the next phase. So of that penny, most of that is going to go towards maintaining that service, that 35% increase in service that we implemented during Stay Moving Forward. A smaller portion of it is going to go to enhancing service through the Connect 2035 plan in conjunction with the reserves we have. So our three goals here are to elevate the customer experience, lead and collaborate with community partners to enhance the quality of life in our region, and strengthen our capacity to anticipate and respond to the demand of the region. In the interest of time, I'll move through these next slides really quickly. We've got information on our website, staconnect2035.com, that you can go learn more. But if we go to the next slide, I'll just highlight from the Elevating the Customer Experience, probably the one that's going to have the biggest impact for Millwood is the Mobility on Demand pilot that we are launching this fall. It's a new program that we have branded STA Link. How Mobility on Demand works, and the first two pilots this fall will be in Latah Valley and here in North Spokane Valley, just in the Northwood and beyond area. These work by using smaller shared service vans that will connect you to a point within the fixed route system. So you can use an app to schedule your ride and say, I need to be picked up at my house. So it'll be curbside, kind of like an Uber. It could be shared with someone else. You might not get that van to yourself, but it will connect you to a point in the fixed route system. So it'll take you down here to Trent where you can catch the 32 and ride from there. So it won't be door-to-door curb service like an Uber, but will at least get you to places where we don't currently have bus service connected to that system. Same thing on the way home. When you're done with your route and you go to, say, the Miraboo Transit Center, you can say, I need to get back to my home, and they'll pick you up and take you that. So we think of it as that first mile, last mile type service. So that's the big one that I really want to point out from Elevating the Customer Experience. Obviously, we're working on our second BRT line on Division, so that's another big project that's part of this plan. Next slide on the leading collaborating with community partners. We really believe in the importance of working with our community to make transit accessible to everyone and a wonderful alternative. We've launched a low-income pilot fare last fall, so 50% reduction in fare for those low-income riders. We're also working on looking at how do we make more programs available to employers? What incentives can we give to make them sort of subsidize transit riders' ability to ride the bus? So looking at those different programs. And then next slide, really looking at strengthening that capacity. Most of that is sort of internal. How can we provide better resources for our employees? I think we take it for granted that a bus driver is stuck in a bus all day and they need to take breaks too. So looking at building facilities so they have a safe place to use the restroom. Right now, we have some of those great partners in the community that allow us to park the bus and come in and use their facility, but it'd be nicer for us to have our own and not have to depend on those resources. We've also made some really big improvements on our real-time information. We launched Transit app last fall that allows people to, in the palm of their hand, track their bus trip plan, and so they know exactly when their bus is coming, even if they don't have fancy digital signage at their stop to let them know. So those are some of the improvements. Like I said, next slide. You can go learn all about this at staconnect2035.com, including more about the Division Street BRT if you're interested. But I did just want to highlight those for you. So next slide really just sort of sums us all up into the what does this look like with a yes/no vote. If it passes on August 4th, we will continue that rate of 0.2%. That will continue through 2048, and that means those existing services can be maintained that we implemented. If it's a no vote, we will still have that through 2028. So that's still going to be collected during that time, but starting in 2029, we'll lose about $30 million a year in revenue. That's how much that 0.2% adds up. So 2 cents of every $10 isn't much out of individual pockets, but when you look at 481,000 people in a community, it starts to add up. We would have to look at reducing service. It wouldn't be immediate, but we would need to start looking at how do we cut back with that loss of $30 million. So the projects and plans that we've laid out in Connect 2035, if it's a yes vote, would be able to move forward. If it is not, then we would need to look at delaying those, scaling them back, or possibly canceling them altogether. So I mentioned that STA Link pilot that's going into effect this fall. There are 4 more planned over the next 2 years. We would need to look at possibly delaying those without the funding, for example. And then as I mentioned, we do get a lot of state and federal grant money as a match. We would be able to continue to do that because we've got the revenue coming in. Should we not, we've already been allocated and appropriated, President Trump approved it, $82 million, I just tried to round up to 83, $82 million for the Division Street BRT. We also received $15 million for the state on that. So a lot of money going into the community on that. A report says that for that amount of money, that's about $450 million in economic impact from the job creation from that work. So we don't really want to lose that. That's important to us. That $12.6 million, as I mentioned, that we get to fund the Youth Ride Free and paratransit would also be at risk per state law. Our funding level must be maintained. So if it falls back because we lose that 2/10, we would lose those grants as well. So next slide, the last thing I wanted to talk about tonight is about our reserve account. So we do have a healthy reserve, kind of a confluence of events, ARPA money that was received post-pandemic, changes in sales tax law that allowed us to collect online sales tax, and of course the population growing has led us to collect quite a bit of money that, again, we've been able to save, which is why we designed the Connect 2035 plan. How do we put this back into the community? So with that penny, as I mentioned, smaller portion of it is for enhancing service. That's because most of it is going to come from the reserves to be able to do those one-time projects. We should not use one-time money for ongoing expenses. So for all of that service that we implemented, we would quickly drain our reserves and then still be looking at cutting it if we didn't have that renewal of 2/10. So that's why we are seeking that renewal right now. So I think I went a little over, but at this point, I'll turn it over for any questions that you may have of me.
Any questions? Yes, please, Dan.
It's been amazing at the board meetings, people come to support. In fact, there's quite a few that came to support and asked for the extra 1% that we debated on, you know, and kind of settled back because of other economic situations and folks. But we don't remember that there are people that work in the evening, and we had these stories about people, you know, having to figure out how to get home because the bus doesn't run late enough, and they're working, you know, and they're going and they're either walking or getting an Uber, which is kind of defeats the purpose of working, you know, to pay right away, you know, and I know that when we mentioned this before, you know, for the 94, we're at the end of the road. So you've seen the 94 going down Liberty or Vista, and the not very many people or anybody on the bus, but we're at the end of the road. So that by the time that bus gets back to town, there's a lot of people on 94. And now that especially now that the other route comes right down through the high school, you can get to the mall very, very easily without crossing Trent. You know, so I think there's a lot of things that we kind of take for granted. And we don't think about the people who don't have the cars or cars available to them. I know, you know, my granddaughter has got her eyes on my car. But for the last couple of years, I mean, she's been able to grab get the bus, and I forgot what number that is, up at, you know, 25th and 26th and Evergreen, I guess. So she catches it, takes it down to the Valley Mall, and it changes. She doesn't get off the bus, but the number changes, you know, and next thing at 32, and it drops her right off at up at North 40. It's a pretty neat deal, and for her, being a young teenager, that was pretty neat to be able to be on my way and go home, and I can hang out later, and I can go home, you know. So I can tell you don't need my damn car. No, but anyway, so I think it's something we need to support and have available, and I think the STA is doing a much better job on working and paying attention to the various developments that are happening. And I know when my old office moved out to past Sullivan on Indiana, I had people taking the bus downtown, and they couldn't get all the way to the office building. So what were they actually had a limousine picking them up from the transfer center, the last place at the mall, to drive them to the office every day, you know. And now with all the apartments out there, the bus goes right there because the routes changed. And the good thing about it, I think STA is doing a much better job of seeing where it's going and working with the local governments to make sure that as you're going to have another mega complex someplace, that what kind of provisions can we have? So, and that's being proactive, not reactive, and that takes time and money, and that relationship takes time and money to build and continue. So, needless to say, it's 100% for me.
Thank you, Dan. Any other council comments? I also want to open it up for the public comments, just because this is about an active proposal so we want to. Is there
Understood.
any public comments? Going once, going twice? Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now that we've had an affirming message on the proposition, I am obligated to ask if there were public comments to speak against. And were there any that were registered, Bridget, through our site? Any opportunities for anyone in the audience? Going once, going twice, thank you very much. One of my favorite people, Chief Soto, get on up here.
You made me follow that. I'm gonna have to be against it. No, I'm for it. This is
You have up to 12 minutes.
this is my second go round. I heard them this morning at our Government Action Committee, so that was good. So, nope, we support it. And Councilmember, he brought up a great point that people work late sometimes, and especially here where it can get very saturated with vehicles. Some people come in, some of my people come in late, some of my people come in early, so they can change up the hour so they can get home and not sit in traffic. So anyway, I guess I must like sitting in traffic because I'm always stuck in it. So anyway, good evening, everyone, council members, citizens, Madam Mayor. I'm here for your second quarter run numbers for the Spokane Valley Fire Department. And we will start with our next slide. Thank you. So this is for all responses this past June. So this is just June. We were just short of 2,000 calls with 1,934 calls. The next slide. Again, just a heat map of the month of June, just to get an idea of where the bulk of the calls were. Next slide. Currently, those total call volume is at 12,406, so that's where we're at for year to date. Next slide. And these are the actual total responses. So again, just because it is a call, it may require more than one response unit. So those 1,934 calls, we required 2,369 responses for them, and the 12,000 total calls are roughly just under 15,000 responses year to date. And you can see that the top number of calls generally again come from stations 7, 1, 8, and 10. But generally, station 6 is right around, or I'm sorry, station 2 is right around number 6. So, next slide, please. And so here's your total instance for last month and then year to date. And again, the first 4 units make up roughly 50% of the call volume, and then when you get to station all the way to station 2, that's roughly 76% of our call volume. So those are mostly busy. Obviously, we have a couple that aren't as busy, but yeah, we're running and gunning still. So next slide, please. For the month of June, we provided auto aid to our partners 120 times, and then we received auto aid 112 times for the month of June. So pretty balanced for this month. Next slide, please. So this is the last slide in this portion of the presentation. We're just 0.5% over last year's call volume, but we're still above last year's call volume. And I was kind of surprised because usually our each June has been going up the last 5 years, and this is the first June that it wasn't the least, but it wasn't the most. So it kind of flattened out a little bit there. And next slide is our year-to-date heat map. So again, what I refer to as the triangle of doom. You can kind of see it there, especially if you're further away like I am, you can really see it. So, next slide. And next slide. So this is Millwood's quarterly report specific to just the last 3 months. We had 94 calls. You can see the bulk of those calls are EMS calls, ALS and BLS. Next slide. So here's a heat map of those calls. So again, we can't pinpoint exactly where it is because of privacy. However, we're giving you a general idea of where they are. Next slide. This is for the bulk of the calls. The 94 responses 94 calls required 99 responses, and the bulk of the calls were handled by Station 2, which is what we want, Engine 2 staying within their area. Next slide, please. And this is the final slide, and there is a mistake on this. I was supposed to put third busiest June on record, but that I think it was more because I got mesmerized by the numbers, right? So Millwood is currently 14.5% above last year's numbers. That's a big number, but we also have to understand it's less calls. So when you 2 out of 10, you're talking 80%, but it's only 2. So it's kind of the same. Every number is very impactful, but the bottom line is Millwood has picked up, and I don't know if it's from all the traffic that's been going on or not, but we're busy, and we're really only 1 call off of the highest 3-month period that we've had in history. So we're rocking and rolling in Millwood. So, any questions?
I have a comment. So one day I woke up and you were in my front yard, not you personally, but
I was like, oh man.
because my neighbor's tree got blown over onto an Avista line and actually ended up totally doing. And so then because of the traffic, I went on foot and I was walking around and came here and then was walking home. And then I saw your people again helping a lovely lady in her front yard who was having a clear medical issue. And it just really drove home to me because I saw like 3 of your units that day because I was walking around all over Millwood. And I was just like, wow, it is really important your work you do. And then one last anecdote that I promised I would share. at one of my coffee with mayors, someone wanted to thank me for the good work that the fire department was doing, and I
Oh,
said, well,
good.
that's not actually me, but I will absolutely share this with Chief Soto. But they said your people literally came, used a ladder to get a kitten out of a tree, and I'm like, we live in Mayberry.
It is true. Our people go above and beyond, and which makes me proud. And I hope our citizens can see that. I mean, we're truly invested in our community. You look at most of our people are from here. We grew up here. Our families are here. We know everybody here. I'm the only black sheep that's not from here, but they don't. They're not upset by it. They're not hurt by it. They understand that we're a service before self industry, and so if you need something, it may not be an emergency, but it may be one to you. And so we treat it like that. And so we're always looking for ways to make things better, because that's the job. So any other questions?
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, awesome. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you.
Now we will have time for general public comments. Were there any general public comments, Bridget? Any general public comments? Going once, going twice. And I don't believe we have a need for an executive session. So we will go ahead and do action items for first reading. Dan, I'm gonna go ahead and let you kick us off on the resolution since you kind of started it up.
Okay.
Oh, would you like Brian to cue it up and then you can just give the color commentary?
Yes.
I'll be Howard Cosell, you be Dan Gifford.
Brian, could you please share with us?
Yes, so, when there's a ballot measure, local governments are allowed to adopt a resolution, either in support or opposition to it. The city's had a long connection through board membership and involvement with STA. Councilmember Sander requested that we, similar to what we did 10 years ago, that the city present for the council's consideration and approval a resolution that would essentially support the proposition number 1 for Spokane Transit Authority to collect up to 0.2% sales tax, consistent with the presentation we just had this evening. And that's essentially what you have before you tonight.
So we have the sample that was pulled from a different jurisdiction and then our own. Dan, did you have anything you want to share, or are there any questions on behalf of any of the council members?
No. Just a couple of, on the proposed resolution. The second page, so it'd be item number 30, page number 38 of the packet. Whereas has a dollar amount in there,
Oh my
which I know you need more money to do this, so that's all good. And down where it starts, this proposition reauthorizes a voter-approved sales tax of up to 0.2% to provide the public transportation effective 2029. Would that be, you wanna put in January 1st, 2029 as a proposal? Just to specify the other sample
Yeah, it should
did have
be.
January. Just,
It should, well, the intent is to match the actual proposition that's being submitted, which I believe has January 1, 2029.
right, that's, I took that.
Thank you, Tina. Oh, is there more?
And just the date was today, since this is a first read. I know that one.
Fair. Well, that one, trust us, we would have actually changed that one. Perfect.
Good catch, Tina.
Good catch.
I'm in support. And
Okay.
so I look forward to it second reading, so next month. Yeah, I think very much worthy cause.
But the second reading will be after.
Be after the ballot.
So would you
measure.
like to,
Well.
so thank you for bringing that up. Would you like to, are you hoping that we take action on this tonight, which would be a very reasonable request?
Yes, please. It's not, does not affect the, our budget
Correct.
or any of our workload. It's just supporting the STA and their continuance of service to our area.
Very
So
reasonable.
I think, can I make a motion then?
You certainly can, you're a council member.
I'd like to make a motion that,
Oh, should we call for comments one more time?
Yeah.
We're gonna call for comments one last time, since, to give it an equal opportunity for a dissent or in favor. Okay,
Okay, thanks.
seeing none, I'm gonna go ahead and,
so I'd like to make a motion that we approve on the first reading, the resolution 2605 supporting the Spokane Transit Authority Proposition 1.
with the two Scribner corrections that were pointed out.
Yes.
I'll second.
First and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any dissent? So passes. Wonderful, thank you very much. Our next agenda item is another first reading, and I believe this one is a first reading, is you have before you our procurement policy again. And we really had put it through the finance committee, and I'll let Sean, of course, and Sean Ortina say it. This really could not be amended any much more than it already is. I know we thought it could be streamlined, but see, each item speaks to a different code. We can't like compile all the tables, so it still is a 30-something page policy. Did either finance committee members wanna add anything?
No, but I think Brian added some edits to the small works roster language to bring it
Yeah,
to
there's
compliance.
Since what, there's a footnote on page 46 of the packet, some new legislation that adjusted the $350,000 thresholds. Effective January 1, that goes up to $530,000, which is long overdue and will provide some additional flexibility for the city to procure in a little bit more quicker, streamlined fashion through rosters as opposed to public procurement for items, so. And then, I think once this is in place, one of the things that, the city hasn't fully embraced or used is, the term on-call has always been a bad term in procurement, Washington procurement law. But unit pricing, which is essentially on-call, is a good term. And with those thresholds, I think we're gonna be able to use some unit pricing, rostered services a lot more streamlined and better for the city, so. I don't know, any thoughts, comments from you guys on policy?
I haven't had an opportunity to look through it. I obviously need to familiarize myself with whatever the end result is and.
Yeah, I just, that's all, the revisions are really gonna, they're long overdue, and unfortunately, $350,000 does not get you a lot in the public works realm at this point in time.
Thank you, Brian.
So I have a question. So on page 42, 43, section 4, so any purchase over 25,000 requires council approval. But then under 4.2, so the change orders, that seems high. So 20,000 would be approved by department director, 20 of 50 is mayor, which would exceed the original 25,000, and then in excess of 50,000 would go back to council. That seems, is that what we intended?
So, to me, when our occasions that a change order has come into effect, the only time I've ever seen it is in an approved construction project. So I'm maybe misinterpreting that, but to me, that would be a comfortable spot for, I didn't create those numbers, just so you know, so I'm totally open to them being amended. But the only ones I know about are the change orders, so to me, one of the things that confuses me about the procurement policy is this, if it's approved project, you know, like, oh, hey, we were gonna do this Argonne project, would you want us to come back within all the change orders? Cause we will be having meetings way more often. Or cause I perceived the 25,000 was like a cold thing, like you guys don't even know things exist and we're just spending money in between council things, but I do think there needs to be a reasonable latitude for things that have been approved, and then there's changes that happen to the approved project.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm misunderstanding the
The change orders are really those things that pop up in the field that are totally unexpected. And, you know, I think, the dollar thresholds are your policy to choose. It's just a matter of, on a project like Argonne or some of these others, you wanna be ready to get a special meeting convened if we've got a sizable change order.
Right.
Or a change order that is not sizable, but it's above the lower threshold that you might adopt.
And what I understood the public to be speaking to about the $25,000 is like, you don't know anything exists. We decide we're gonna do something in the middle of the month. What's that threshold? And I absolutely agree, $25,000 should be the cap for any new things. But some of these bigger projects do have big numbers attached to them. But you've already approved the budget, and if we come in at or under budget, you know, to me, do you wanna hear about every?
Yeah, so just so I'm clear, and the public's clear, so any purchase over 25,000 would require council approval. And then section 4.2, because the way this reads to me, is then if we have a change order, so we could have approved 25,000, right? But then if there's a change order, it won't come back to council until it's 50,000. Does that make sense? And so it seems inconsistent internally. Does that make sense, finance committee? What I'm saying?
It does make sense. I think, like these guys were saying, I think, of course, being so new, the change orders would be more on the higher end,
Right,
which would obviously, you know, be, whoa. you
right,
know.
exactly.
But if you started a project, say, we'll just do Empire with the speed humps, okay, just as an example, then it was, you know, okayed to spend 50,000. And then Kyle gets a bill for 75,000. So that'd be 25 over. Is that what you're kind of implying?
Well,
Cause it'd only be 25, it wouldn't exceed the 50, to where city council would need to, do you want that lowered?
yeah, so I guess, yeah, and it really, it's just it's clarification. Because what we're saying here is, and maybe I'm off base, but what it seems to me to read is anything over 25,000 requires council approval. But then the change orders are high, right? So it's 25,000 that comes before council, but then 4.2, we're saying it can be double what we approve. So let's say council approved 25,000 for something in the park. It wouldn't come back to us
Until it reached
until it was 50,000.
more.
Yeah, so on a large project, that makes sense, but so maybe we should think about this 4.2, once the city council's approved a purchase of a certain amount, there should be amount there to make it more consistent. Does that make sense? What do you think?
We could probably specify by the type of the project, 'cause I think there's another one in materials not related to public works that comes back to us in 25K.
Right.
So if we wanted to find it for public works at a higher amount, non-public works at a lower amount.
That would make sense.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
That makes lots of sense.
Cause I hear what you're saying, and
Right.
our intention isn't to like start new things that the council does not aware of, but some of these bigger things, specifically water leaks, something to our water system, or a construction project, I personally believe that can be accepting whatever. At some point, the day-to-day operators also have to be able to work within it cause we're not starting new things that you're not aware of, we're just operating the things that, you know.
And I agree completely, and so I think, Sean, if the finance committee, so Tina, if you guys worked on this to do public works, so maybe we have 4.2 and we have a certain amount.
So
That's
Brian's
not public.
pointing out there are no such things as
Yeah, I'm
non-change orders on
I'm not su-
non-public works.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you would, where a change order on a non-public
And that's what
works
I
would
was
come
kind
in.
of responding to. If I'm confused, I do see that to me, that's a reasonable threshold for change order, cause change orders we're just working an approved project or something that everybody knows about, and sometimes those things do get
If you're buying supplies, equipment, or services, that's gonna come in at a, you know, you're not gonna see a change order. The change order is gonna be a field issue on a public works project that pops up and needs to be addressed immediately.
Okay.
Going along the lines that I think you might have been suggesting, what I have seen is as opposed to dollar thresholds, sometimes you see percentage thresholds.
variances.
Yeah, if it's 10% of the overall approved project amount, it comes back for, you know, it goes to the mayor. If it's 50% of the approved project amount, it goes to the council.
That makes more sense to me.
So just so you know that if we did that though, you just took the construction project, if you put a 10% variance in it, now we're talking $150,000 that I don't need your permission for. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, to me, this does,
Okay, so let's talk about this. So what if we had, so potentially next year we could do things in the park. The park would be a public works. So let's say Kyle had a great idea to do a pond. The pond came up for 25,000. We approve a pond for 25,000. But really, it won't come back to council until it was 50,000, right? So it would, you could more than double what was approved. And you wouldn't have elected officials until we hit that 50,000 mark.
well, I would argue you do have an elected official. You have a mayor that's signing
Well,
off on some of
that's
these things that's over a certain threshold. And I would, again, I'm just offering the counter, cause I don't think 50,000 is actually, if we were a different city, 50,000 would be a joke. We'd be asking for that 150 that I just talked about for the construction project. And if we're talking about a pond, just to play this out, sometimes things come up. So for instance, like different funding, when we were going through the TIB, do you know what I'm saying? A lot of moving parts happen and there would be missed opportunities and stuff if Kyle and I were unable to respond. I get what you're saying and I'm totally going to, obviously we support
Right.
whatever you want, but I do for public works is extremely expensive and I think we've had I think that we have been consistently like working within like I don't tend to do projects that you don't already know about and I'm
Right.
asking you to vote on like 3 or 4 times, honestly.
Yeah,
Some of the
exactly.
feedback you've given me, you guys have given me like, okay, you only need to bring it once, Shauna.
Yeah, and part of my concern is not, it's down the road, right? And so.
Yeah, that's fair too.
So it's unforeseen.
That's
And
fair.
so, it just, this section 4.2 causes me, some concern in that it doesn't come back with a change order until it's doubled the amount that's been approved.
Sure.
And so, you know, if I think from a citizen's perspective, you know, why won't it come back to council? But I understand completely with Public Works. I think that, you know, I'm not that uncomfortable. I just want to make sure that we're thinking about consistency.
Do you want it to say 25? We can always try.
It's just under the general requirements, cause you got the other sections that point out the differences through the public works and then purchases of supplies, materials, equipment, services other than, you know, A&E, and then the A&E, and special requirements for A&E services. So I'm not, I mean,
Right.
Yeah, under the purchases, supplies, and materials, it's actually 25,000 under that section specifically.
Right, so general versus the specials. Just
So-
for clarification
So this
on
is
those.
just general,
Do we even need it in the general?
do we need to have it, because, and that was my other, I guess, is it consistent with the rest? I didn't have time to make sure that it's consistent. So if we look at, what, page 46, that would be Public Works.
Purchase of supplies is 1 to 25. Right, Public Works would be the page 46. And 25 on
Page 56,
Let me get
item
to,
12.
57, right. And then 25 for A&E services. So everything else is from 1,000 to 25,000 except for the Public Works.
Because outside of the public works realm, you're generally purchasing on a fixed price basis.
Right. Which would be no change.
Right.
So,
Typically, unless you know, the change order typically in the non-public works realm is being driven by a change by the city. You know, we want additional widgets or whatever it is. The public works change order is you've struck something out you found something out in the field that was unknown, couldn't have been bid, and it's gonna cause, you know, delay if it's not addressed, yeah.
right. So, under this general then, do we even need 4.2?
Well, or unless you wanted to move that to public works and address it that way.
Which it should already be in there, right? Oh, it's not under the Public Works, right?
it's
I
non-public.
thought it was.
Maybe that part is, the other one's under.
Is there any other, I just wanna,
non-public
I don't know
works.
why it ended up there, but is there any time that a change order, I
Okay,
can't think
yeah,
of
it's
any
in
time,
public
I've
works.
experienced a change order that wasn't a public works thing.
Public Works, CIP budget does not include a contingency.
Public
Oh,
works
that's
has been the
what-
only realm with the change order, hasn't it?
That I've experienced.
Limited time being here, yeah.
Yeah.
Kelly, you could do the lesser of whatever amount and 10%.
But
So
if it,
on really big projects, it's still your dollar amount, but on smaller projects, it could be
Would
less.
you like to send this back to the finance committee, Kelly, for this?
yeah, I think so, and so if we're correct in, change orders is only Public Works, let's just put
Put it in
this
pub-
section in Public Works, that makes sense.
Okay.
And,
But what dollar amounts or thresholds or percentages or?
yeah, so with Public Works, then I'm comfortable with this,
Okay.
because then we would be talking about.
So keep it at the dollar threshold and not a percentage?
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay, I mean, to me, that feels reasonable, cause
Yeah.
some of these percentages could get very large very quickly, and
Right.
that's not my goal.
So basically move 4.2 into the Public Works.
Mhm.
All right, any other comments? I'm just for interest of time.
Dan, do you have comments?
No.
Sean, Tina? Andy, did you have anything you wanted to share? Oh, he's off? Okay. Andy has stepped out of the room. All right, we will refer this back to Finance Committee. Thank you so much. No, these are good comments. Honestly, this is a new policy. And I've had some of those questions thinking about would this have held in this scenario versus this scenario?
And thanks, Finance Committee, it looks good.
A lot of work.
Perfect. So I'm gonna move on to the mayor's budget memo. So this letter here is serving three purposes, cause we're so small, we should hit multi-purpose situation. This memo is first to open up the 2027 budget officially. Second of all, it serves as my first 100-day report, which has been actually requested by multiple people. And then number three, it is to open a conversation with you all around a potential budget amendment. Just to give you the high-level view of our budget, what would we do a budget amendment for? Well, really not a lot. You can see that, first of all of our budgets approved at the fund level, and I would never advocate for us to go beyond the fund level, because then we get into this granularity, and you guys only meet once a month, and so we have to be free to operate as a city outside of that. But because we are approved at fund level, we're really tightly inside a budget, and there's a few major variances that have occurred even though we're still under budget. First one is our budget to actual position, like I said, is good, but we did have the Dalton project budgeted for almost $1.2 million this year. And as you heard with the STIP and also approved last meeting, we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is do spot checks and keep dealing with it with this as the situation arises. I did confirm, I've had our conversation with the finance committee. I actually confirmed, no, this is not third party. We have all the equipment and everything and the skill right inside our own doors to do these things. So actually, when I talked to Kyle about, would you want me to just start budgeting this at $100,000 a year? He said, I think we can go down to 50 or 80. So we're still figuring out which number we're gonna land on, but it would be more in that range for every year unless we got a grant, and then we would do the whole full project. But that took out a lot. The other thing, another line item that I want to call out is the $200,000 that was budgeted for wholesaling, and we did not have wholesaling, and that didn't even presume one wholesaling that went active in January 1st. That actually presumed then we would sign a couple more this year. And so if we did a budget amendment just for my own anxiety, I would love to eliminate that line item. The third one is we never budgeted for a comprehensive rate review, but we absolutely do need a comprehensive rate review. I've put my feelers out there just to find out like what kind of magnitude of money are we even looking at. And I keep hearing things more in the $40,000, $50,000 range. But of course, if approved by you, I would go and get competitive bids from at least 2 different firms, and we would see what would cook out of that and stuff. But I do highly recommend that we move on that this year and not wait until the 2027 budget to start a comprehensive rate review. And then if you look at our current projections for just salary benefits, all the operational costs related to staff members, we are actually projected to come in slightly under $200,000 this year from what we had budgeted. And so I have 2 positions that I would like to request consideration for that would actually put us at $250,000, so a little bit more in its most maximum. I don't anticipate that either of them would be hired at the top of their scale, but I have to ask for it so that we're able to navigate in that reasonable range. And 2 of them are the utilities person. And I consider this to be a temporary position, but a long-term temporary position. So I anticipate this person would be with us for 18 to 24 months. And what they would be they would not be integrated into operations. So Matt would still be our top line person for all things water infrastructure. Bridget, the lovely Bridget, would continue to be our utilities billing person, but this person would allow me to start importing all of our data that is currently existing in consulting land and bring it in-house, start generating our own new data, and then also get into the billing for the integrity, just making sure that we have rock solid utilities billing and stuff. They would also be able to help us because we will need to adjust our rate schedules at some point in the short order, because we're not even at break even. We're not even covering our costs. And so that's part of that comprehensive rate review. Well, if we have a data person already on site, then that data, the cost for a comprehensive rate study actually goes down because we would have our own intelligence, and that would also be required for us to get our data back and returned to us and stuff. So that's one position I'm asking for. The other position I'm asking for is either a part-time, full-time, or even a contract administrator to kind of help with. We have Bridget, who's amazing. We have Erin, both of these people I believe are our long-term solution, but this is their first public appointed office for both of them. And I think that they deserve a little bit more hands-on day-to-day resourcing and stuff. So I would be looking for a solution. Brian and I have talked about some different ideas and stuff about reaching out into the old, to different municipal worlds and stuff, retired city administrators or retired mayors that were full-time mayors and stuff that might be able to resource that. So those are the things that I'm asking for. I'm opening this out now up for a big old conversation because I don't actually know what we would do, because on the fund level we don't need a budget amendment, but on the appendix of our last one, we approved like these handful of positions and then their ranges, and so I can't actually hire off of that table until I get something, so I don't know if what I need to do is bring back a ordinance amendment for just those, to allow for these positions to be hired for, or what, but that's my conversation opener.
Okay. So, thank you, Mayor. I think that, as we've gone through the last year,
Yes.
at least me on council, I can see the need for an administrator. I think the city, I think it would benefit the administrator to be able to, one thing that we have in Millwood, and we've heard it from the last 3 mayors, is that trying to be mayor and be administrator is tough, right? And it takes lots of time. And the amount that we pay our mayors is not very much. So I think that makes lots of sense. I would hope that it would take some pressure off of staff, and especially when we have qualified staff, but relatively inexperienced staff. To have an administrator makes lots of sense. And I like the approach, instead of going to a straight administrator, to looking at retired folks, part-time, people that understand municipal government, that could help us out, right? That makes lots of sense to me. I think that would be worthwhile. I think that that would probably be a good solution for like a 24-month term. And then we can look at that and evaluate that point. Utilities data specialist, I think that's needed too, right?
Absolutely.
And so I can tell you, Matt does lots of work. We see it in the Utilities Commission. We can't pile more work onto staff. We don't want to overwork people. And so I think, I'm in support of that as well. And so, with that position, I would think a contract might be the best thing.
Well,
right?
can I bring that to you?
Sure.
So I'm asking for some latitude on that, and honestly, with the previous 2 mayors, we have very much honored the strong mayor thing. I'm the one that's here all the time, I'm the one with 30 years of management experience, and I would like the latitude to design this, because I think it's one thing to like, oh, it makes sense that it should be a contract person, but you don't know what the field is for the people who can be doing that and stuff like that. And I am going to, as long as we're still a mayor council, I want us to work, but I also want to understand, just as I defer to you, what is your expertise? I think you kind of still need to defer to the mayor, the staffing, which
Yeah,
has
and I
been
agree with
historically our case.
Yeah,
I think that just
I agree.
opening the door to all the alternatives.
100%, that's why I put it
And
right
I
in
think
there.
that's-
Because I think even with the administrator, I think, boy, you get the wrong person. Like if we sat here and like, oh, what do we need? We actually don't know, and it's gonna be largely dependent, in my opinion, from the candidate pool, because even if given permission to hire an administrator temporary, I would not hire somebody unless there was the right person, or else now I'm just introducing another factor into a pool, to a situation that has largely been stabilized, but now we need to grow. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if it's gonna unstabilize it again, I don't wanna go back to that.
Yeah, I agree completely. With the utilities data specialist, are you thinking gather up our data, create a system where it's our data, and then eventually Matt be able to take it over?
Correct. So my thought is eventually, or whoever the treasurer or somewhere in the finance department, wherever the expertise lies,
Right.
would be where the data lies and stuff.
Okay.
But one of the things I've even experienced with data utility is, so, let's say Bridget and Aaron are able to identify a problem. No one has the capacity to spend the time to dig into Springbrook, get into the expertise. And honestly, I don't believe current state the expertise lies in-house. But fortunately, I'm a data scientist and I work for a major university, so I know the people that have those kinds of expertise. And what I'm talking about isn't someone who just works in Excel. I'm talking about someone who can code in Python, code in R, is experienced at setting up, data repositories and things like that. So I think that's what we need. And then when it turns into intelligence, then we return it to the operators for that use. But there's clear, like even Springbrook, the few meetings that I've sat in on, I can see I can kind of see, but I don't even have access to Springbrook. I would want this person to get access to Springbrook and really understand it from the kind of people who build these kinds of platforms, not somebody who just utilizes the graphic user interfaces afterwards.
Right, and so do I understand it correctly though, that the utilities specialist, data specialist, it would be more of a transitional, it would be, 24, 36 months, or do you envision that an ongoing position?
I think, where does the utilities enterprise goes depends on like what kind of contracts are we doing, what kind of enterprise we have 36 months from now. But my suspicion is if we did need more people for that utilities enterprise, it wouldn't be in the form of a data person. I think maybe maybe there is a maintenance person, because if you build a system or repository, sometimes you need to maintain it, but that could be probably done contract wise or something like that. I think meanwhile, we need to be looking at who's gonna be the future administrator, and that person needs to be getting training and such. I think, but all these things are opening up. So like, I feel like we had January onward, a great stabilization, and now it's time to rebuild. And I feel like I paid my due during the stabilization. I want to have some of my say on the rebuilding because I have clear visions now, having been the one that was here every day during the restabilization and stuff. And so one of the things I think that we could do is build this. So I'm not trying to get a permanent position in this for this or the administrator. I'm looking at a multi-year patch, like a 18 to, you said 36, but I'm thinking even more 24-month patch.
Do you think an administrator, I would envision that it could continue past 24.
So here's what I think about that. I think that it depends on who we hire. I mean, like honestly, Bridget and I had even a discussion today about, originally I had an idea for a treasurer / then 2 operational managers, because I honestly think the clerk position, especially in light of the new public records world, has turned into something that is not one position anymore. And so we were talking about there could be a possibility that we do want to go that route. And so then what we'd be looking for wouldn't even be just an administrator. What we'd be looking for is like more contract, somebody that we can call. And then honestly, sometimes we lean on Brian for things that have nothing to do with legal. And I think that maybe we get a municipal person so that we can lean on that person to guide us as a team as we do it. But my goal is, just like they had Eva and just like they had Tom Richardson, I do think that these kinds of things are better from within, but we are a new team. And so I would like to grow that within. Also, we're different. Like when it was Eva, and Tom, it was a clerk / treasurer. I'm telling you right now, we had a robust hour-long conversation today. Is the clerk need to really be 2 equal level department heads with very distinct things? And I want the freedom and the approval that as long as I'm within budget and I'm constantly being transparent, that we can start working at doing some of those rebuildings.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the key would be the administrator with their experience with maybe other cities.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't even know the questions for ask. I mean, you have a good idea of what the questions are, but what else are there? What else is there?
For sure.
And also, that's the same with the utility specialist. We kind of think we know, but are we looking for the right data? And as that changes.
So that's why I think the data person, I feel like we're talking about 2 different things, and I'll check in with Brian here because he might be saying this is too long of a conversation.
No.
Okay.
Just no Nandy's.
I do think actually I know for data. I have a PhD and I think honestly, you've got expertise in-house, so I would utilize that one on the data side. And I've even been talking with our utilities people about like, hey, what kind of KPIs, key performance indicators are you guys collecting? What do your dashboards look like? And so I have been reaching out, and you're right, we won't know. I think we grow internal expertise while we bring the data inside. But I'm gonna tell you right now, as current state, we've been spending, from my assessment, lots of money to have consultants generate stuff for us, and then what we have at the end of the day are PowerPoints and not data repositories that we can go ask different questions or newer questions from. If I were to be actively negotiating right now a water wholesaling contract, I wouldn't have the benefit of any of the $75,000 that was spent last year to advise a different mayor. So I mean, to me, this is from, and you guys can say no, but I mean, to me, this one is like, let us get started and then we'll keep bringing back to you and reporting to you, and we
That's
can
fine.
keep refining
I'm
it.
just saying this, leave that door open and not just build something for today.
We're just trying to get the data inside to start going, take first steps towards
And we
these
need to know what
decisions.
the data is. And all I'm saying is there may be data that we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even know where to get right away.
There's absolutely data we don't have. Right
So-
now, if you were to ask about data, we would have some operational data in regards to quality control, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but we would have quality control analog style, not even put into a thing that we could searchable for. And we would have our water usage reports that have occurred over many different years and such. But I mean, is there other specialized data that I'm not making reference to?
Operational.
So, yeah, so costs and stuff.
Yeah, and I think there's just a perfect example of that. You know, do we know how much it costs
No, we don't.
to run a gallon of water out of Butler or Oak Park or New Park?
Honestly, from my standpoint, if we had operationalized a water wholesaling, we wouldn't even know if it was successful or not, because we don't even have a before snapshot. That's my opinion.
I do think, again, with the administrator, having somebody with city experience.
Absolutely. As a resource though, I'm not looking to move towards a non-mayor council, and model. This person isn't gonna, so I'm looking for someone that can resource us on all the like little questions, like, if, especially with the public works thing, or not public work, the public records, cause that is a lawyer thing, but if these things come up, it shouldn't be us internally trying to problem solve it, like we should just be tapping resources. I'm not looking for someone to circumvent us on the strategy of our city.
So can the utility data specialist do the rate study?
No, I don't think they can, because they will be a data expert, what they won't be is a water expert, but I think that they can vastly cut down, and there's like three, for what I know of, there's three consulting firms that would probably be capable of doing such a comprehensive rate study. So I think it can cut down a lot of the costs, because it will be doing less of like, oh, Aaron, find this thing, and then we're gonna try and make some information out of it, and then Bridget, try to get in your records and stuff, and I think we would be able to do a lot more, just better data being brought, but none of us are doing comprehensive rate studies. There's really only a few firms that have done those kinds of things.
And they're not engineering firms, they're financial firms.
Well, I mean, Welsh Comer is one, and that is an engineering firm, and who is for over Irvin. FCS is another one. I mean, I would personally reach out to all three known firms and find with our specifications of what we're hoping for, which is a comprehensive rate study, and then find out what they have to let that bidding process educate us on because we don't know what we don't know.
But again, I'm thinking finding somebody that does rate studies that's their job, rather than we're doing roads today and, oh, by the way, we can fiddle around with some rates. I mean.
I do
we
consider
can always-
Welsh Comer a viable option, because the team that does the comprehensive rate study is a totally different team Matt Gillis isn't gonna do our rate
Yeah,
study.
okay.
The person who's been literally overseeing our water submissions for the last 10, 15 years does do this for other municipalities. Like Nisha and Ashley,
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
they are already overseeing our WIP and they're already and I think we should start bidding these things out, but I mean, I do think,
That's why I'm getting mixed,
Yeah.
I'm getting mixed signals from you.
no, I do think we should bid out the comprehensive rate study, but I do think Welsh Comer should be one of the people that it's open to bidding, cause
Okay.
that team does do water, municipal
Yes.
water.
Yes. But I also heard your frustrations with that team, you know, and-
When?
Huh? About the whole.
Not getting the data back.
I think that was by design, honestly. I think consulting firms are gonna do what consulting firms do. I think if you never ask on the front end, our expectation is return of data and we want data in searchable, machine searchable form. No consulting firm on earth is going to volunteer to give that back.
Don't we give them the data?
Yes.
So we already have it, we give it to them to analyze.
So, no.
We get the data out of Springbrook, right?
Correct.
And we get the data out of the meters. And
Well, first of all, Disha and Ashley have indicated there is some willingness to, scrape their stuff out of it. Consulting firms, guys, and this is why I actually think I'm the one that should be doing this. Consulting firms make their brilliance off of the longitudinal engagement of a large pool of people. So FCS, is that who they are? Their magic is that they understand 30% of the water companies out there on a deep level. It's the aggregated data that's magic. So yes, when Kevin was contracting, I assume I wasn't around, I wasn't included, but if they were saying like, hey, I want to go into the wholesale thing, and then the treasurer at the time and then the clerk at the time, they start giving them the data, Welsh Comer didn't get rid of our original data that they've been collecting from it. So they have levels of intelligence that is just so beyond one project. What they have is the accumulation of all of our projects and being able to cross-reference that to other projects of cities of like size. That's the magic. And that's why I think that's why I feel like we need to start asking for it back so we have our longitudinal data as a final product. Like, thank you for doing that study for me. Thank you for advising me on all those wholesale agreements. I need all the CSVs that you aggregated to turn that into intelligence, return back to me, so then we can do that. So it's not, I don't know what data they got from him, from previous, and I certainly don't know all the enhanced insights that they have that's been leveraged now with other municipalities that they've engaged, or having a longitudinal view, having done our own water supply, our own water planning for us, at least the 8 years I was council member in this. That's what I'm trying to bring back on site to some degree. I mean, obviously, we're not gonna be 5 engineers strong and that's all we do. But I mean, that's the kind of perspective I'm trying to get us to start having on site. I mean, it might be, I am passionate about data.
I just think the big picture is we have 900 connections, and we're gonna go through all these rate studies and find out we're gonna move a dime here and a dime there. But if we spend $200,000 into the water system, that comes out of 900 bills.
Exactly. So, but what we have is we only have 900, and that's a very tiny end. For like this FCS, I guarantee you, they have entire repositories that are Spokane Market. Do you know what I'm saying? That they understand anyone who's ever touched them. That's another reason why you have to I do think we should put all these projects out to bid. I don't think we should keep going back to the same well, but I also don't think, you gotta be careful too, because now your data is out there with, those people, and they're advising all their consultants. So I think it is a careful dance.
So I have a silly question.
Yeah.
I'm not a data person. So Springbrook, I thought Springbrook was kind of accounting and things. they do everything? So
Yeah, they do our utilities bill, they do,
utilities and everything.
they are they're what I would call our enterprise resource platform for all financial things.
My understanding is the meter numbers go into Springbrook, right?
Correct, he does do the individual meter
And then
numbers,
Springbrook generates utility bills based off the rates we put in Springbrook.
correct.
So we do have the usage numbers on a per connection basis, because that's how we bill. We have the electricity rate and the electricity usage of each pump. We have pump meters. I mean, we should be able to figure out how much it's costing us to provide water. I'm just saying, like.
I know theoretically that feels like that makes a lot of sense, but it is also, does the, I mean, I don't know how much, I'm not super impressed with Springbrook, but they are the only dog in town, so there's no point in us jumping. But the integrity data, cells populated can sometimes unpopulated without these people knowing, and so that's when we started doing quality control tests on all of our utility bills. The business intelligence you get out is only as good as the data that's in there. And some of our data, I still have questions about, like I'm less concerned about anything meter read, but I have some questions that I would like to get the answers to and stuff. And then also, where has it been stored and what were and I can tell you to my standpoint, until January, we were not doing quality control on our own Springbrook system. So, data in is data out.
So treat me like a third grader for a moment. So our utilities data specialist would look at Springbrook, take that information, compile it, send it to Matt, send it to you to analyze.
No, I mean,
How would it work?
when I think of a 24-month, I'm really interested. Thank you for asking, and I understand we're long, but I would consider this to be like a 3-phase project. So if you're breaking it up into 24 or 36 months, I would consider it first phase. The first phase is just an aggressive, where's our data, what current data are we collecting, and is it integrity? Is it of high integrity?
Okay.
Is there any problems with the data that we're already collecting, and how can we streamline that? What are we putting our data into? In this case, we're talking about Springbrook. Are there any opportunities there? I would be going through that before we're even getting to analysis phase. And then I would also be finding out, which I've already started talking to, but it has only been until this month that I've really been able to be spending majority time out in the public, meeting with other water companies or utilities, enterprises, and asking, what are the KPIs you're collecting? What are the kinds of things that you would be running dashboards on? What kinds of things is FCS running dashboards on, and getting our arms around what is that? So getting phase 1 would be just double checking the data that we're already using and then finding out what new data we need to be collecting.
Okay.
And then the next phase would be, okay, build that thing and then start doing analyzing, generating early start intelligence, different insights. What kind of dashboards do you all need from us? What kind of dashboards does Matt need from us? What kind of dashboards does Bridget need from us? Can the variance check that Aaron is doing to currently check our data integrity in Springbrook, can that be automated? Which it can. I just don't know how yet, but I mean, that can be automated for certain. And so doing things like that, and then we would have to look at our strategic goals, which I do think firmly that needs to come from the 5 of you and me, and then all of our citizens. And that's why I think that consultants, and even the administrator, whom I'm really excited about hiring, is we shouldn't be offloading some of this because we know the needs of our city. And so that's one of those things.
Okay, that makes sense to me. So,
But there are a lot of things we won't know until we actually lift it up.
right. Okay. Tina, your thoughts?
I think
Please.
this, with the administration, in-house right now, having stuff in-house, and I think that was kind of a perfect example, and it made me make more sense as well. It's like, what exactly is this person gonna do? So getting all this information and getting analyzed and helping out basically the city staff, which in turn is us, which in turn is the entire community. I think I think both administrator for sure, just to help in our office, and then the data specialist. They're both part-time. You could go, we could, reassess in a year,
And it could be full-time, right? And so
depending.
we're, yeah, and so we're giving our mayor the latitude. But I think from a 30,000 foot perspective, I think, do we have consensus that this is a good idea? Is that what you want from us tonight? Is
I wanna
consensus?
know what you guys need to decide yay or nay, so that we can put it in that format and then present it to you at the next council meeting for approval. I'm not looking for approval. I mean, I would love a soft approval on the data person, cause I actually have a candidate. But ultimately, we didn't know what format, cause we didn't really need a budget reconciliation for the legal reasons, and so we weren't gonna draft up an entire ordinance when really we're just trying to, and also if you were to like, these are crazy ideas, we don't like any of them, well then, good news, we didn't draft up an ordinance to approve it.
And it's an ordinance that we'll draft for it? It won't be an
Well,
ordinance,
you,
it'll be resolution.
You have to authorize the expenditure authority.
To amend the budget.
So it would be if it's personnel, it would be an amendment to attachment A or exhibit A to the budget ordinance and a budget amendment. If it's an independent contractor, we don't really have a purchasing policy that kind of guides it, but I think if there's an expenditure that goes with it, the practice has typically been to come back to a long-term intended expenditure. The practice has been to come back to the council for that approval. So, and again, just kind of to reiterate what the mayor was saying earlier in this discussion, you control the purse strings, but she controls the personnel decisions in terms of who might be the right fit and how to go about fitting those positions. You just need the allowance raised is all. So.
And specifically, the approval of those positions, cause I could call them something else, do you know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't be able to actually hire the utilities person right now without calling them something else.
Okay.
Even though we have a candidate.
Anyone opposed to this?
No, because as you continued to talk about this, then you came to that question that I was trying to get to start with. And your process is collecting what we've got and just getting it laid out, knowing what we have. What we don't have is what we don't know. What do we need? Being able to ask those questions, and those questions might be more than a broader way of thinking than when you're saying data specialist. I'm thinking I picture data specialists, but not necessarily doing the hard work, but not necessarily understanding where it all fits in the big picture.
Correct, so.
And that's where I'm thinking we need to figure out, okay, get all the hard work done, get all the data so we can play with it. But we need to have somebody and to really figure out, and I think FCS is one of those firms that know that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
But that's what we need somebody to be able to.
So the person that I would hire would be what I would consider to be like of the data analytics, data scientist discipline. And those people may not have the content expertise today, but they know the data and they actually know how to interrogate a situation. Do you know what I'm saying? Like a trained data scientist doesn't know it today, but they know how to find the key stakeholders. They know how to interrogate the systems. They know how to get the information. So yeah, will there be nuances that someone, that a Bob would know? For sure, but that's why we talk to a Bob, and I have been, and these people are specialized in also getting the right information,
So, yeah, I had misunderstood you when you say a data specialist. I wasn't thinking of that level. That's the level I think we need.
Yes.
and not just somebody playing around with numbers.
No, so this would not be someone sitting downstairs. In fact, this person would be more like akin to in my mind, an Amanda, who's actually more off-site than on-site and really only comes here when they need to, intersect with the internal. They're not part of operations. This is truly somebody that would be out there with me, interviewing different, water, heads of water districts and enterprises and things like that, and they would be specialized in knowing how to extract the right information. But thank you, this was a good education for me to learn how to share that idea in a better way, Dan.
Well, again, it's just words. You know,
It's just words.
you know.
We've gotten, I think, meta enough that it indicates to me. So can I ask if I can hire the data person and get a vote on that, or?
Yeah, the premise would be if you're gonna authorize her to move forward, you're gonna be amending the budget. And I think that would come back to you. It couldn't happen tonight. That would come back.
So
My primary concern is the enterprise funds are self-funding. So this 100K goes against the utilities.
So that's an actual conversation that we should have, because I don't know that to be true. And even what he just said is about you guys approved line items. That is kind of how we treat it for some of these, even when you were saying the procurement thing, like, oh, well, that is actually not what we're audited on. That is not actually if I pulled what we approve as a budget, what we approved in 2025, it's a lot of high level fund things. And traditionally, all mayors have just navigated within those funds, and if at the end of the year they're on budget for the funds. So I'm actually adding multiple layers of resolution, multiple layers of resolution and bigger transparency, and even coming to you guys with actual individual, but I'm trying to do it the way that I believe that it has been echoed, that we want it done and stuff. So I don't know why we can call them whatever they want, they can help us with other things, but I don't know why they wouldn't just come out of our
I think
general administrative.
their time needs to be billed to what they work on.
Ours manual would presume that if you're, I don't know how it's been done in the city recently, but even like my work, the budget is identifies certain portions of legal work would be credited to the water fund and the sewer fund or general fund or street fund. It's that's part of the budgeting magic.
No, I'm just saying we need to be sensitive, because
So
if this person's working on the water data, that time goes to the water fund, and people are already very sensitive about their water bills.
So I agree with what you're saying, and I wanna, so currently, I think that is the ideal and we get to there, but where do you think the $75,000 that was to advise Kevin came out of last year?
Came out of the water system.
I would have to vet that. Do you know, Aaron, the answer to that?
I would need to dig into it, but with how the structure and function of our coding system works, if it was expenses for, like, say, consultant, we would be charging it would eventually end up in Fund 401.
And a lot of that, I think, was, we had Halverson Law in here talking about water rights and explained all that to council, and they did a write-up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not saying, I'm just,
Yeah,
people are sensitive about their water.
I know they're sensitive, and honestly, I'm sensitive and feel like a lot of money was spent.
Yeah.
I'm trying to rectify that, but
No, I'm not.
there
This is-
will need to be, I will tell you right now, you do not have the data to make any of these decisions, nor to measure the impacts of these decisions. That is that's my assessment. So I'm open to however we think we wanna get from point A to point B. But like I said, even if we might have started retro engineering a lot of things, pulling from Springbrook, how much is, and then trying to get back ourselves into that. I don't think we should do that. I think those things should be all prospective. I think dashboards should be built ahead of time. The evaluative dashboards should be built ahead of time, and that you should rely on the data that comes out of it. So I don't.
So Sean, what you're worried about is it would come strictly out of the water fund. There's no general fund.
Well, if we're down 200 from not wholesaling water this year, we pay for a rate study, we pay for a data person. I'm not saying this is your
No,
fault,
no, no,
this is just
no.
where we're at.
I agree. I agree.
That will pass on to the customers.
But ultimately, so Aaron, salaries come out general fund, correct?
I think those are all split up between where the time is spent.
Yes, we are coding salaries, like Matt's salary is coded to Fund 540, excuse me. It's coded to Fund 401 for purposes of budgetary top level analysis. It is coded to the water fund. His salary coding within Springbrook is going to water.
When we fill out our timesheets, we fill out every hour for
Yeah,
sewer,
allocated,
water,
yeah.
street, park, trail.
Yep.
I don't know how we get paid
I
out of that.
agree with.
That's how we fill out our timesheet.
I agree that's where his comes from, and I assume that that's true. And you could absolutely be correct. I was considering this to be more of an administrative advisory role, like what we would consider a consultant that comes in and helps the executive and governing board make decisions. So you're bringing up a very good point, but it's a point that honestly I think to me, this feels like, it still feels like an administrative thing because it's not somebody who's operationally going to be in those roles. It's,
Well, I mean, I think the bigger problem is if we don't know what it costs to run our water system or our per gallon costs.
I mean, yeah,
I mean, maybe we should just have Welch come in and tell us what they know from last year to at least get off on the right foot.
So the issue, I think, though, is Welch has their data, right?
They have our data.
They have our data, and we don't have it. And so,
and they're willing to share it, but honestly, to make it into actionable, I mean, it is what I do as a job, but I mean, I spend already a lot of hours, which is honestly why I am saying that I'm gonna hold my right to make mayor decisions because I feel like I've earned them. But I'm gonna tell you this right here, just this is my first stab to educate our public on just where does your water bill come from? What cost? This cost us over $1,000 from Welsh Comer to just get this information back from them.
and I think that's really effective.
So I hear
No,
what
I'm
you're,
not.
I hear what you're saying, but I think I'm identifying a very real problem to reckon with and such, because right now, without a good plan, and I'm not even gonna direct them to do it, the staff otherwise, direct all the data towards me, because I don't have anything to do with it, and I could do it, but that's my full-time job that I'm being paid to do elsewhere, and I'm trying to bring one of my people in to help us put some organization, somebody I work with so that we can start making some of those things. But I'm sorry, guys, I really do believe you're gonna have to have an early investment in some of it, or we just go status quo. We just keep going status quo. We keep, making the rate changes and everything, because we have a world-class staff. I fully trust that the right projects have been identified, the capital projects, but where are we gonna get the money for it? Because we're already in a situation we're not even covering the base, and so we're gonna need to entertain some creative solutions, and some creative solutions better come at the end of some actual intelligence of what our system looks like before or after, or else we could negotiate ourselves into a losing proposition.
So if we get to the bottom line, how much do we think we'll have to amend the budget? What do we think based on range wise?
Well, I gave you some ranges, the utility specialist that we've been talking about, it would not be over 98,000, but I can tell you right now what I think it will be.
Okay.
It will be somebody that comes in as a 0.6 at the highest, because I'm looking at the ranges that we already have. calculator out, I'm not answering texts. It's gonna come in at way less than this, so, calc. If you pull, the current rate schedule for like, assistant treasurer or assistant clerk, the top is the 36.23, so I kind of went in with that would be like the range of what we did, so 36.23 times, okay, let me do the math the opposite way, 2080 times 0.60, so now we're talking about a 0.6 times $36.23, so that is $45,000 and $258. But for salary alone, I believe that if somebody is over a half-time permanent employee, they actually do deserve some benefits. It can be prorated benefits, things of that nature and stuff. So with that, I would assume, I think, well, actually, I do know how much it is. So backing out, what did I say? It was so this was 149 hours times, and just so you guys know, our benefit rate is $17.18. So that's an additional 21,457. So add that to the 45. So now we're talking at less than $70,000. And I actually know of multiple candidates that would be able to do this offsite as a 0.6 and at least get us started to identify the needs that we might have in the future.
So that's for data
And that's for the data piece.
and roughly the same for the administrator.
Well, the administrator, if we were to hire an administrator, somebody's gonna come in, take over one of the offices and start helping manage the city. Public Works will continue to report to me, but Aaron and Bridget would no longer, they'd report to this person, that person would report to me, and I would just deal with that person type of thing. That would be like $150,000. And by that, I mean like $110,000 to $120,000 per, but this is what I'm saying. I feel like I'm having to justify some stuff that is honestly 100% within my square, and I feel like I've really respected your guys' roles, and I believe I've been extraordinarily transparent as a mayor, and I kind of feel like now, but no, we want you to justify literally down to the dollar. But if you want it, the administrator would be an expensive person. Now, one of the ideas that I had is, and here's another, I feel like I'm offering very real problems and very real solutions. And proactively, this is being met with how it's being met. Last year, we spent almost $200,000 on a consultant, accountant that nobody answered to, you guys didn't ask to agree on the scope of work or any of do you know what I'm saying? So it does kind of feel a little disjointed to me that we have money for that when the things blow off the top and we throw these things to the emergencies, when I think we could have a similar type agreement, just so you know, that was $250 an hour. And so we could have a similar type agreement with somebody who's a municipality, and then if we didn't want to do the $150,000, we could have that, and then it would be like he worked about 25 hours a week and stuff, 20 to 25 hours a week, sometimes more. And then we would have that, but it would be somebody that was an administrator that would still report to me, hear about what my priorities are, hear about what I'm trying to have happen, cascade that down to the staff, meanwhile helping them nurture them along about what does a municipal officer look like, how are the best ways to approach it, and things of that nature. And be able to have somebody that we could all call if something happens. Like sometimes we encounter things all the time that like nobody knows the answer to. And so now we're like, and instead of just everybody huddling up and making those problems up and then calling Brian and all, I think that the better thing to do is just have somebody that has had experience that we can ask upon and stuff.
And I hope you don't feel like you're getting grief from us. I'm curious what next month, what the amendment will look like of.
I don't feel like you're giving me grief, but I do feel like there was no control over 6 months ago. And I feel like I have gone out of my way to be extraordinarily transparent and to put all my ideas but there is a line where now you're just micromanaging the mayor. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, but we want you to do it this way and we want you to, and I do feel like that there is,
I'm just curious.
we have to strike that balance.
Yeah, and
We can't go from, oh, well, let's just throw $200,000 at the problem and ask for nothing, to like, Shauna, get out your calculator and show to us you've done your due diligence.
well, no, I'm just curious. So I think it sounds like council is in agreement. I'm just curious what the addendum or amendment to the budget is going to look like.
Well, in the light of the data, since I got into the granular, and I think I could probably deliver this at under $72,000, I would like an actual approval, because we do have a couple candidates. One's preferred, but we have other candidates, and I do think we need to get going on that, because no matter what, we're not covering our operations right now with our current water rate, and minus a rate study, it's just us guessing. And I don't understand how in any world that's preferable to getting at least basic good data. So I think that one's a priority. The administrator, I think, is a more longer range, just because you have the money, but then you also have to have the candidate pool. And I will tell you, until the fall conference season, I don't know where we would even find some of these people and stuff. So I plan on just you know, if you look at where the candidate pool is, I think that one can definitely wait until next month, and then we bring it back as an ordinance that encompasses and codifies both, but getting maybe a light approval from you to move forward with the utilities person today. But you know, Sean does bring up a really great point that honestly, because in my head, I really did squarely put this in the administrative column, because to me it felt so like Brian, like, you know, all these people that are advising the administrative strategic capacity. So that is gonna be some details that I'll work with Erin over the next month to define, but I would like approval to start moving towards it. To literally start doing that. And if at the end of the year we're wrong, you know, we can have that discussion too.
Can we approve it without an ordinance adding that position to our salary schedule?
Well, it's just to approve her to move forward, and then they come back next
So,
month probably with the proposed
I wanna be,
amendment.
no, I would like to move forward to it. This is the distinction. We approve our budget at the fund level. We're already within budget at the fund level. So you guys can give me tacit approval, you know, like affirm to me that you think that this person, and then I will have to go figure out where's the line item gonna be and all that other stuff, but we will be stuck, you know, with that decision till the end of the year. But you guys have never approved the line items, and that's why I'm honestly a little confused with some of this. Well, then you gotta approve. You've never approved the line item. You did not approve a line item called, you know, there's been big projects out of norm operating expenses that get approved, but like all the other stuff has always just been approved at the fund level.
We just don't have a position on our salary schedule for a data person.
That is correct.
That is what the ordinance would do.
Yeah.
So
But can we approve it today and then bring an ordinance, can prove the idea to?
Well, if they don't approve the budget ordinance, then the position doesn't exist.
Okay.
That's
Okay, so we'll just do it next
the chick-
month.
That's the
That's
chicken and
fine.
the egg thing, I think. I mean, I think what I'm understanding, if I could just kind of try to summarize, what I'm understanding is there is support and in favor of the mayor going out and looking for the resources necessary to get the city moving forward and the information, the data necessary. I think what would be helpful for the mayor is if there's some understanding, and as the mayor said earlier, it could be a soft approval, but some understanding of, yes, you should go look for this position. Subject to the understanding that it's, you know, it's not, the position doesn't exist and it's not funded until the budget is amended accordingly. I mean, that's kind of the.
So we could amend next month,
Mhm.
but you can proceed with your job search.
Keep
So
in
if
mind,
I-
we need a quorum plus one for a budget amendment.
Okay.
So that's what.
Oh, wait.
Perfect,
Okay.
can I, cause there is a workaround solution to this, I think. If I call them something that it already exists. Do you know what I'm saying, that, or you just say, so do I have, I'm asking clarification, cause I can definitely recruit, but what if I find someone? Do we,
I have no idea about that. Would the auditor flag that?
Would the auditor flag that?
Well, you know, one of the things that you brought up is that we're super green, and this is my first go around with the SAO, so
Yeah,
from
we have
a
our first meeting
payroll
tomorrow.
audit standpoint, I am not sure what the auditors are gonna be looking for specifically. The main thing that I would be looking for if I were in the auditor's shoes is if the person is in fact working the time that they're working. So, you know, they're recording their time in our payroll system. You know, but from a, you know, SAO standpoint, I'm not sure what they're gonna say there. So I would need to, you know, do more research and get back to you guys about that, so.
I think you would proceed with the understanding that we would approve a budget amendment next month to add that position.
Perfect. And then if Aaron and I find something alarming that really would put the city at risk because I am proceeding, we would do bring everybody back for a special meeting to vote on it.
Yes.
I mean, you either pull the trigger or you don't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I would just refrain from sending out an employment letter until we get the amendment done,
Or it could just be conditional
or
on
conditional.
Yeah,
budget
conditional.
approval,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that sounds very reasonable. And special meeting if that needs to happen sooner, okay. Thank you guys for the conversation. Does everyone feel okay? Cause that's probably our longest and most detailed and not just yay.
Yeah, I'm very transparent, so,
Okay.
yeah, very nice.
Perfect. Moving on in our. Do you have an agenda since I've lost mine in my many pieces of paper out? Wonderful. We are now moving on to the action items for consideration, which are the city council regular meeting minutes, the April 2026 dashboard, the May 2026 dashboard, June 2026 dashboard, the May check register, the May 2026 treasurer's report, June 2026 check register, June 2026 report, that budget to actual, which shows we're actually still in our budget for at the fund level, and then the city council special meeting workshop minutes. Are any of these items, do you want to take as a separate item?
I just had a couple of like scrivener's errors on the minutes.
Oh,
I don't know if you, not much. It's just that it's changing any of the substance.
No, that's fine. So,
And actually, I could
It's
just,
likely we talked about, it's probably a
Probably the-
transcription.
it's probably the transcription mechanism
Yeah.
that happens, so it's just on that one page.
so,
That's the only thing on the actual.
I'm entering some Scrivener errors into the records. Are we okay to keep it though as a consent agenda and vote on it as a package?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So passes. All right. Oh yes, I'm gonna have Amanda. Amanda's on cue.
Okay,
We're not out of the controversies yet.
so, as we just discussed earlier, in the evening, we're at the tail end of our periodic update. Something that was not required nor included in our periodic update was the topic of data centers. There's been information in the news, obviously, about them. The reason we've brought forth the moratorium is in order to give the city time to research, study, analyze, and see what best fits for Millwood. That's the short of it. And Brian can probably elaborate a little more, but I think it was really spelled out in the whereases of the ordinance. The comprehensive plan directs us to protect the environment to the best extent possible, to address development prior to it occurring, and plan for it. And that is what the purpose of the moratorium is to really give the time to do that and see how this particular use that is not currently addressed in the development regulations can fit or may not fit within the city of Millwood.
Is there some reason it was brought up for action and not a first reading?
I believe that's kind of standard practice for a moratorium, but I'd let Brian elaborate on that.
Yeah, we probably went further than most jurisdictions do by actually putting it on the meeting agenda. Typically, a moratorium is brought forward on an emergency basis. Either, in some instances, I think jurisdictions bring it forward because they think something's coming to their jurisdiction. Or in this case, as it's been bannered around in the public domain and the news media, I think that started some of the thought process internally as to there just is a void in the city code as to why this is. I'm not aware of a, hey, we're coming to Millwood, we're gonna build. But I do think that, given the considerations that are out there for data centers, and the lack of guidance by your city code and your comprehensive plan, to address something like this, that's why it's coming forward. I'm not aware of any immediate need. I think there has been some discussion in the community on it, right? I think Mayor.
There's been different meetings.
So last I heard of Vista had canceled whoever they were talking, that negotiation, so I don't know if there's an immediate need for this.
There could be,
I can tell you we were not responding to the thinking that we were the entity that Avista was talking about.
Oh, I don't
Just so
think
you
we
know.
are, no.
This was being generated, as Amanda said, through a bunch of other avenues that made us think that there was time sensitivity around the city looking at it.
And I believe the process that's being followed is very similar to what Millwood utilized for the cannabis I-502, as did most jurisdictions, to kind of put a placeholder so that you don't waste people's time if they're interested in looking, and also give the city time to figure out the use and how it can or cannot fit.
and from a commercial realtor standpoint, there are data centers looking. I can tell you that, so I'll abstain tonight, but there are good data centers. So I represent one that uses server domes, and so IOMS and things of that nature. But there are the big five, so Google, Meta. There are companies that will do large resource data centers, and there's substantial issues with them. So I'll abstain from tonight's vote, but I think we should consider all aspects of data centers.
I think that,
Yes,
and
please.
I think that's the question. I mean, what is a data center? And what's the, there's differences. When I talked to Sean, we even talked about the West Valley School District. Combining, having their own little data center for all the schools rather than having semi-experts in all of them. Let's have one good one.
And it should go to, what we did with cannabis is we looked at it, we had city staff look at it, we had city attorney look at it, and we came up with a reasoned response, right? And I think that makes sense. Data centers are going to grow, and so the more that all of us use ChatGPT, Claude, and others, data center it's going to be a continuing use. And it will come to Millwood, right? We have a large industrial property that would probably, and my clients are not looking here, they're looking in Idaho. But eventually, the property with the mill would be an ideal site, right? So I think we probably should make rules and regulations for the future.
I agree. The question is, do we wait a month to do this?
Has anybody talked to the mill?
I'll represent on the record, this is not driven by anything involving IEP, the mill, the property, or anything of that nature. I haven't heard that to be a concern.
And I haven't either. It would be an ideal site, I would think.
But it also, the most recent experiences with the mill, nothing's out of the question, in my opinion.
And so I think Brian can attest to this, there is zoning in place that if the current use changes, it's up for rezone.
I would like us to not focus this conversation just around one property, cause I agree it is not just that one property. But I do support Amanda bringing this forward and having us bypass the double touch, because for all the reasons that both Brian and Amanda have said, people don't tend to bring this forward unless they're actually feeling there's a reason to on shorter order.
Well, I think the driver is, we just don't know what the code says or doesn't say on it, and they do have impacts. I mean, we've included a generally applicable data center definition. You know, the electrical capacity, and the uninterruptible power supplies that are necessary for it. We just don't know that, we don't know what the city resources have or don't have on that. You don't have to have, for a moratorium, you don't have to have a specific proposal or even believe that something's there. I think, you know, the concern I've heard is really that we just don't know what the code allows for. And, you know, it certainly has been bantered around as a community issue.
Well, I think we should go ahead and do it tonight. Just to get it on the record and open the door for the study, but right now, we don't know. So let's say we don't know, you know, and let's say we got to study. And in the meantime, we ain't doing nothing except studying, you know?
Well, the moratorium requires a work plan to be adopted. I would think at the next meeting, there would be a formal presentation coming back to you about what that work plan would involve and contemplate. That's what we did on the marijuana regulations as well. And, you know, that will be the study process and the moving forward process, and just kind of examining where something like this might actually fit in the code.
So can we do this tonight and then have the work plan for next month?
That would be the plan. I mean, if you adopt this, this is
Before we adopt this.
the moratorium's a 6-month thing, of which is to consider this. So I mean, if you voted for this tonight, it would trigger that whole event of us developing a work plan, bringing it back, engaging in that robust conversation, because we'd only have 6 months to either decide, do we kick it down, do we extend, or do we adopt something?
And as part of the ordinance, we've stated that on August 25th, we would have a public hearing. I believe that would be a special meeting, that'd be a special meeting for a public hearing dedicated to this topic. And I can bring a work plan at that time.
Yeah, on October?
For the August 25th.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Well, I'd like to make a motion. That's acceptable.
You're absolutely damn.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt ordinance 559. And I don't know what to call it.
Data center moratorium.
I'll second that motion with, on the very last page, you need to put the correct ordinance number.
Some Scribner notes, guys. Sorry. Oh
Tia.
my.
Ryan, does this need majority plus one to pass?
No, it's a majority of the quorum that's present.
I should probably abstain as well, since I serve as outside counsel to one of those companies.
Andy's still on.
Andy, are you still on? Are you able to vote?
Yeah, I think we need to be proactive instead of reactive to it. So I say moving forward, I think is a good idea.
Okay, we're about to take a vote, but 2 of our members are abstaining, so I had to ensure that you were able to take a vote for us to have a quorum. All right, well,
I'm here.
I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All abstained?
I
Two.
abstain.
We have two.
Abstain.
I'm sorry, I meant all against,
Abstain.
and nobody's against, and there's two abstentions in the form of Councilmember Kohler and Councilmember Stravens.
Very good.
Alrighty, perfect. Thank you. It passes and we're off to reports. Treasurer report.
Well, you know, you guys got a big old data dump. You know, we are looking pretty good through 6 months, on the fund level budget to actuals. The split differential, the revenues over expenses is going to decrease in the second half of the year because of things like the phase 2 project, cause I mean, we still have, you know, $1.6 million that's gonna go out the door. And the time lag associated with that. You know, the other main bullet points that I have, all the 2026 Q2 payroll filings, so like the 941s, the walk cares, Paid Family Medical Leave Act, ESD, all of those quarterly filings are out the door, so we're good there. I have not heard back from the Department of Commerce in regard to fully closing out the SLFRF stuff that was supposed to be coming in right around now, but they're late, so other than that, you know, the ship is righted, so.
Thank you.
And would you mind sharing about our meeting tomorrow? The
Yeah.
SAO?
I almost forgot.
We're opening up our-
We have our, basically our pre-audit meeting scheduled for the SAO, for tomorrow. You know, it's the meet and greet for the actual auditors. They're, gonna walk through, you know, what their timeline looks like. They already sent me a PBC list provided by client list, for all the supporting schedules that they're gonna want, you know, all the bank statements and bank reconciliations and you know, all of our amortization schedules for our one debt item, and the other leases that we have. You know, speaking of leases, I have our parking lease that we pay $480 for every month. That's prepared, and I'm gonna be sending the payment probably. I'm trying to remember if it's this month or next month, but coming up, that's the only other thing. We've got a couple of leases that need to be renegotiated, but that's long-term, several years from now, so we're good.
Wonderful, thank you, Erin. Bridget?
Alright, so last month I attended the annual AWC conference with Councilmember Seifert and Councilmember Sander and sat in on a few very informative sessions there. One of the ones I found the most interesting was the communicating in the age of misinformation. That highlighted how fast synthetic photos spread online and can cause a false understanding of events. So that was one of my favorite ones that I attended to. On code enforcement, the complaint on East Cortland, a letter was sent out to the renter outloading the code. They had a RV that was parked in the right of way with expired tabs, and then also one in the main driveway on the side of the house with somebody possibly dwelling in it. So a letter was sent out outlining the code, just being informative of, you know, these are the outlines. And so we have a positive update on that. Since the letter was sent out, the small RV was sold, and then the situation now with the one on the side has been resolved between neighbors, so that was positive. We received a few complaints regarding overgrown properties, just with overgrown weeds, so I'll be following up with a letter to be sent out to those properties, also informative. On the old Bank of America building, I've been communicating with the realtor on resolving the partially fallen tree on the east side of the property up against Stout, so that's in the works.
They got that down.
They did?
Yeah, yesterday, the day before.
At the bank, yeah.
Really? Okay, no.
Should have reported back.
I didn't know. Exciting. Okay, Okay, well, that's great. Outside of code enforcement, I've been busy on preparing packets for meetings, working on public records requests with the assistance of Savannah. Josh has been focusing on entering backflow results, and we'll be sending out final notices next week on July 20th. So, just a reminder.
I got mine done.
Yay! So that concludes my report.
Thank you so much. All right, facilities, Kyle.
To close the loop on a couple of things I talked about last month, I'm sure everybody's noticed, we got all our patriotic banners up on the new light poles, looking all Americana. Also, all the repairs have been done to the northeast corner of Argonne and Empire where that car with the ghost driver went through the fence and the irrigation controller. That's all been pieced back together and back as good as new. I got the 6-year transportation improvement plan turned into WashDOT and SRTC. I have acquired a full crew of lifeguards and have the pool open our full regular hours of 11 to 5, 7 days a week. We spent a lot of time, Matt and I have spent a lot of time out doing utility locates for the Argonne project. And also Orchard Irrigation has a small section of water line on Bessie and Marietta that they've been working on. So we had to do a lot of coordination with them on sewer locates, sewer side service and main locates and everything over there. And other than that, I just been spending a ton of time out here. So, where we're at on that, as far as from the work standpoint, it's going decent. They obviously ground these northbound lanes down. They are in the process right now of lowering all the sewer manholes, gas and water valve boxes all down, about a foot down from where it's at now. And then by Thursday, Friday this week, hopefully, they're gonna bring another machine in. They're gonna till up about 8 inches of what's existing out there. They're gonna introduce that concrete treated base to it. And they go ahead and that has a 7-day cure time. After that happens, I learned something new and I'm gonna, we're so long now, I'm gonna make you listen to it too. Apparently, you can't put asphalt on top of concrete because concrete doesn't have any flexibility where asphalt needs to kind of move and shift a little bit. So after they do this concrete treated base, they actually have to go through with a roller and do what they call like a micro crack to it. And they basically fracture it. So that concrete base is still pretty dang solid, but it has a little bit of give to it. So the asphalt will be happy on top of it. So that's what the rest of this week looks like. Also, their sub, Colvico, is out here and they started doing the trenching and laying conduits for the rest of the fiber line to get up to Trent. And that's about where we're at.
Wonderful, Matt.
Okay, all the water samples came back good again this month. This coming month, we have to take the regular ones, then we're doing nitrate samples at New Park. And we did switch over to New Park as the lead pump with the warmer weather. I finished up our water use efficiency and consumer confidence report and got that submitted to the Department of Health. And we had Sam climb the tower and take pictures of the vents and hatch and all that stuff up there for DOH. Something I don't wanna do, I did it once, and that's enough. We inspected the new taps for the Kodiak building on Euclid. They got a new 4-inch water line and a 2-inch service line. So we had to shut down that little bit of main for them to get all that done, but they got all that put in. Pacific Power was out and they replaced a check valve on the Old Park generator because it wasn't staying primed. And the transfer switch control board for the booster went bad, so we have one on order, and as soon as that comes in, they'll put that in. And then Prestige pump was also out. We found a pinhole leak on the discharge valve on the #1 booster pump, so they said come out and replace a little piece. And in sewer, RC Worst came out and installed that new control panel at lift station 3. So all the lift stations are all up to date, ready to go.
Great, perfect. Thank you so much, Matt. All right. Is it you?
No, it's me.
Oh,
Yeah. It's a Scribner error night. Please ignore the highlights. Those were actually, those were carryovers that inadvertently ended up from last month. So other than that, we had a site plan review and approval and some project coordination with utilities on a residential bedroom and bathroom addition on Woodruff. we were doing some additional coordination on the commercial storefront renovation, tend improvement across the street here. That one's now permitted and functioning. We had a couple home business reviews that should sound familiar to some of you. And then, we made application for the Planning for Recreation Access Grant, for the Millwood Park redevelopment. So we'll be hearing, over the next month, I believe it's mid-August. Technical review is completed, gets turned back to us to make any modifications, back to RCO, mid-September, I believe it is, and we hear for award, I believe it's by end of October. So fingers crossed. We kept it a really tight budget, requesting the entire 200,000, no match, and we'll see how we rank, so. And then on the periodic update, just a ton of continue to work on that. So I believe that is my abbreviated summary there. Yes.
Perfect, Brian.
Other than what you've seen on the agenda or participated with, nothing further to report. Happy to answer any questions.
Me for the mayor report. I also am learning a ton of things about what's inside our roads, including sensors and all, but I'm not gonna share all that because we're running out of time. I do want to remind everyone we have coffee with mayor at 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock tomorrow. I want to also pass on to you that you will be hearing, I assume, if your world's anything like mine, a lot of discussion around like, my gosh, all these people are speeding in our neighborhoods because the Argonne is closed, and so Kyle and I are meeting with Trevor Ball, but additionally, I will tell you, when we had a B1 road last year and everybody was just doing, that is a lot easier to say, can you please monitor Empire? We now have like multiple outlets and multiple points of failure. So we're really gonna have to tap more creative things like, moving the digital speeding sign around, other alternatives that are gonna help with the traffic mitigation. To that end, Kyle and I would encourage people, if you hear somebody say, hey, I want a bunch of speed bumps, or I want this, or I want that in response to the Argonne Road, I would encourage them to go to our website, file their public comments so that it would come to us. Kyle and I meet monthly, or not monthly, we meet weekly on that, or maybe even more, where we really look at the hot spots. Where is the critical mass happening? We go investigate those sites, and then we make the week-to-week decisions about what we're gonna do. So like, we will be bringing in some temporary speed bumps back on this side for some roads, for specifically 2 roads that we received critical mass of just discussion around. So I would really point them back. You can definitely talk to your neighbors and get that information back to us, but it won't be it will be dealt with systematically. We're not just because you grab one of us at the supermarket, we can't immediately promise things and such, because we have limited resources. And then
Are you getting a bump?
what?
I was asking if he's getting a bump for his, in front of his house.
Oh my gosh.
People have been requesting.
People have requested it. Additionally, on the code enforcement that we were talking about, there was also an opportunity for a citizen that came up and wanted a group of citizens actually to propose some ordinance reviews and such. They have since withdrew their request, and so that's been dropped. But it really was an exciting thing for me to hear citizens actually have ideas about what our laws should be and such. But of course, because that's not a well-known process, there wasn't a recipe book that they were following. So one of the things that Amanda and I are gonna do is on the back of the newsletter, just like I did the water primer a couple months ago, we're gonna feature some graphics and also some description about, you wake up, you want an ordinance review, what does that look like? What are the fees? How do you do that? I would say that Kyle and I plan on co-authoring in the next 3 months. One, you wake up and you want a big road project in front of your house. What does that look like? Because what it does not look like is grab your local public works director and ask him to install it without the outside of the system. And so we're trying to really educate the public as we were getting so much more increased civic engagement. So more to come on that. What is the last thing? I know we're rounding out. Public remarks?
Oh, that's all right, I'll wait till my turn.
Oh, I apologize, I'm sorry. Dan, please.
You haven't gone around yet.
Oh, the city of Millwood bird
Yeah.
restriction notice and order.
Yes. So we did have a burn restriction. That is something that I just moved on because it's part of our ordinances that when the fire department did it, so I signed off on that. Do we have any public remarks? Oh, I see that we do not. Going once, going twice. Now we will do council remarks. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the Honorable Dan Sander.
No, I forgot what I was gonna say.
You want me to go first
Like
and then
we
you
did-
can?
yeah.
It wasn't gonna be good, it was gonna be a good one.
I'll go first and then you can
Yeah.
remember. So I've heard very nice things about our mayor, and so coffee with you has been popular. And so I do appreciate lots of transparency, so I think we're on the right track. Staff, thank you very much. I think it's obvious, Kyle and Matt, how much you guys do out here. I actually haven't heard people complain. And so they say it's going smooth. So that's good. And so.
some your way if you want.
Really good, cause I haven't heard it. And so even, people that I thought would,
Only North.
they said it's going fairly smooth, so, yeah, Amanda, thank you so much, comp plan, really go to work, so, and Aaron, Bridge, obviously, nice work. Brian, yeah.
That's a compliment from you, Kelly. Thank you.
So anyway, yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
I did remember about thought we mentioned one time just having perhaps another rear flyer. When do you need a building permit?
So yeah, I'm kind of feeling like that's what we're gonna do. Not all the time, because sometimes I like to take up both sides of the page because I have such profound insights. But joking. But I would like to do more primers so that we can educate people.
And then also, with waters, is when you put your sprinkler in, you need to have more than just the sprinkler. So just more public education of our rules.
I 100% agree.
And the water bills are a great place to do it.
Thank you.
If everybody got a water bill, that's the only bad.
Actually, I've gotten a lot of feedback around, so I mean, I do think we need but I mean, I've actually gotten a lot of feedback from citizens, not only on the mayoral newsletter, but also how do we touch people and we actually even have a growing list of businesses that are now asking for it on the routine as well.
Good.
It's on the mayor's page, isn't it?
It is on the mayor's page, but in education, adult education, you have to hit it multiple times.
Okay. Thank you for taking the initiative to educate the public. Thanks to staff. The only thing I've seen is a lot of traffic that you guys already know there's cut through at Riverway up Dale. People are just going around everywhere. So this could be the roads you're talking about. That's it.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you, everybody, for everything you do. It's a lot of work. And as part as the roads, the only thing I've heard, from both sides is Stout. Right up here where they're cutting around, basically going around Walgreens and the old Bank of America building. I've heard that's just been an issue, but I'm sure that's probably one of your areas too.
I would encourage people to register because there's so many now. It's almost like when, Trevor Ball says, can you please do crime check? Because, it gets to be too numerous to remember. Anyone who's been in my office knows I'm keeping track of them all, so that have come through.
And when was the construction, we were talking earlier, November?
Oh, okay, so that,
Or
it's so.
September 15th, right?
No, it's October, so mid-October, we thought originally, and I was saying the end of September, and then it got extended into mid-October, and then yes, I was, I think I might have told LaDonna, when that went up as 11:10, I was like, oh my gosh.
Did your phone blow up?
For like a whole weekend, yeah, that's all we heard about. That was a transposition, so they meant to put 10-11, mid-October.
Part of the reason it drew into October without even us thinking about it too much is because we agreed to start after the 4th of July
Yeah.
holiday, so that automatically pushed us back.
But I do think I do honestly think that was the best thing, and even the school system is not starting until after, they're starting before Labor Day, so we would have missed that window anyway, so.
I think we did alternate ads too, right? Didn't the signaling add a couple working days or something? I can't remember what it was.
There was a few extra working days because of that,
Anyway, so yeah, thanks everybody.
Thank you. Alright, I think it's motion to adjourn if my memory corrects.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, Andy, I apologize. Councilmember Van Heest, did you have any,
Make motion.
comments?
Everything has been covered tonight, and thank you all for doing what you're doing. And I make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Thank you.